The moment you hear the words, "stop forever," something inside you tightens, doesn't it? What if I told you that one private habit you've never spoken about might be silently shaping your focus, your confidence, even the way you look at yourself in the mirror at night? And what if stopping it didn't turn you into a monk or a superhero, but into someone you barely recognize? Ask yourself this honestly: if that urge disappeared tomorrow, would you feel powerful, or empty? Because the truth hiding beneath this question isn't comfortable, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Stay with me, because the real story begins where the silence starts. Most people think the struggle begins with desire, but it actually begins with distraction. You tell yourself it's harmless, a quick escape, a private reset button after a long day, yet weeks pass and you can't explain why your mind feels noisier, why your attention fractures so easily, why motivation shows up late and leaves early. This is where the pain sneaks in quietly, not as shame, but as numbness. You're functioning, but not fully present. And here's the uncomfortable question nobody asks: if you removed that instant relief, what would rush in to replace it, clarity or chaos? The answer isn't obvious yet, but your brain already knows it. When that habit stops, the brain doesn't celebrate, it panics. Not because it's evil or weak, but because it's wired to expect a reward it no longer receives. Dopamine, the chemical that whispers, "this feels good," suddenly goes quiet, and in that silence your thoughts grow louder. You may feel restless, irritated, unusually alert, like a room with the lights turned on too fast. Some people mistake this discomfort for failure, but it's actually exposure. You're meeting your unfiltered mind for the first time, and here's the twist: this tension is not the enemy. It's a signal. A signal that something deeper has been numbed for a long time, and now it wants your attention. As days pass, something strange happens. The urge doesn't vanish, it transforms. Energy that once drained downward begins to climb upward into your chest, your voice, your posture. Conversations feel sharper. Eye contact lasts longer. But alongside that confidence creeps a shadow: impatience, sharper emotions, thoughts you can't switch off. This is where many quit, thinking something is wrong with them. But what if this friction is actually unused potential rubbing against old habits? What if the discomfort isn't telling you to go back, but pushing you forward into a version of yourself you've avoided? Here's the part nobody likes to admit. Pleasure, when it's instant and private, teaches the brain a dangerous lesson: relief without effort. Over time, this quietly reshapes how you handle stress, boredom, even loneliness. When you stop, you're forced to sit with emotions you once escaped from. That's terrifying. Loneliness feels louder. Desire feels raw. But hidden inside this rawness is something powerful: emotional honesty. For the first time, you don't run from feeling, you listen to it. And the question becomes: what have your urges been trying to tell you all along? Relationships shift too, sometimes in ways that shock people. Without an easy outlet, attraction intensifies. Touch feels heavier. Connection feels riskier. Some feel more present with a partner, while others feel exposed, unsure, almost vulnerable in their own skin. This is where fear creeps in. What if I'm not as confident without that private escape? What if I actually need it? But here's the paradox. Avoiding intimacy trains the mind to stay safe, facing desire trains it to grow. Which version of yourself feels more alive? Then comes the emotional peak, the truth that hits hardest. Stopping doesn't magically fix your life. It doesn't erase insecurity, trauma, or lack of purpose. In fact, it reveals them. The shock is realizing that the habit was never the core problem, it was the coping strategy. Removing it doesn't heal you, it exposes the wound. And exposure hurts. But this is also where transformation becomes possible, because you can't heal what you refuse to feel. Psychology has a word for this: suppression rebound. The more forcefully you try not to think or feel something, the stronger it pushes back. That's why some people feel obsessed after quitting. They're fighting themselves instead of understanding themselves. Real growth doesn't come from war with desire, but from curiosity about it. Why does it show up when it does? What emotion is riding underneath it? And what would happen if you addressed that root instead of silencing the symptom? Over time, something steadies. The intensity settles into clarity. Focus deepens not because desire is gone, but because it's integrated. You're no longer split between impulse and control. You start channeling energy into movement, creativity, ambition, connection. Not because someone told you to, but because your system demands an outlet. This is the moment people mislabel as superpowers, when it's actually alignment. And alignment feels calm, not dramatic. The final realization is quiet but profound. Stopping forever isn't the point. Awareness is. Choice is. The danger was never pleasure, it was unconscious escape. Whether you continue or not matters less than whether you understand yourself deeply enough to choose without fear or guilt. And here's the question I'll leave you with, one that lingers long after this video ends. If you removed every distraction that numbs you, who would you be forced to become?